Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriya Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 7, Lord Krishna instructs Uddhav. Text number 18 onwards. So Uddhavji is asking questions and putting his query in front of Krishna. Tasmad bhavantam anvadyam anantaparam sarvagyam ishwaram kunta dishnayam nirvinna dhir hamu vriji nabhitapto narayanam narasakham sharanam prapadde. Therefore, O Lord, feeling weary of material life and tormented by its distresses, I now surrender unto you because you are the perfect master. You are the unlimited, all-knowing Supreme Personality of God, whose spiritual abode in Vaikuntha is free from all disturbances. In fact, you are known as Narayan, the true friend of all living beings. No one can claim to be a self-made man because everyone works with the body and mind awarded by material nature. By the laws of nature, there is always anxiety in material existence, and terrible tragedies periodically harass the conditioned souls. Here, Uddhav points out that only Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is a proper master, friend, and shelter for the conditioned souls. We may be attracted by the good qualities of a particular man or demigod, but we may later discover discrepancies in that person's behavior. Therefore, Krishna is described as Anvadyam. There are no discrepancies in the personal conduct or character of the personality of Godhead. He is eternally faultless. The fault that we see in Krishna, actually there are those faults or shortcomings in our character, in our lives, and we project it on Krishna. We see Krishna dancing with gopis. Gopis, they were married to other gopas. And we think, oh, it's wrong that somebody is dancing with somebody else's wife. But we have to know Krishna in truth. His pastimes, his taking birth pastime, and his whole existence, his position. We have to know in truth before we make some comments like this. And those who don't know, they comment on Krishna. They say, oh, he's faulty character or this or that. But this is an offense against Krishna. Of course, Krishna is so merciful, so merciful. Even if somebody says, oh, Krishna has no morals, but because he has chanted, he has uttered the name Krishna, he still gets benefited. This is his mercy. We may faithfully serve a master, father, or demigod, but when it is time for us to receive our reward for faithful service, the master may die. Therefore, Lord Krishna is described as Anantapara, which indicates that he is not limited by time or space. The word Anta indicates the termination of time, and Para indicates a special termination. Therefore, Anantapara means that Lord Krishna is not limited by time or space, and thus will always dutifully reward his faithful servants. Because Krishna is there before the creation, Krishna is there after the creation is resolved. He is eternally there. Eternally there to take care of his servants. If we serve someone other than the personality of God, our so-called master may forget our service and become ungrateful. Therefore, Lord Krishna is described here as Sarvagyam, omniscient. He can never forget the service of his devotee, and therefore is never ungrateful. In fact, it is said that Lord Krishna does not remember the faults of his devotees, but only the sincere service they have rendered. Not just he is omniscient, but he is so merciful. So merciful. A further disadvantage in serving anyone besides Krishna is that when we are in danger, our master may not be able to protect us. If we take shelter of our nation, that nation may be destroyed in the war. If we take shelter of our family, they may also die. And as described in the Vedic literature, even the demigods are sometimes defeated by the demons. But since Lord Krishna is described here as Ishvara, or the supreme controller, there is no danger of his being overcome or even impeded by any other power. Thus, Lord Krishna's promise of protection to his devotee is eternally valid. He'll always protect his devotees. If we do not serve the personality of Godhead, we will not know the ultimate result of our service. But here Lord Krishna is described as Akuntha Vikuntha Dishnayam. Lord Krishna has an eternal abode called Vaikuntha, and that abode is never disturbed by anything. The faithful servants of Lord Krishna will certainly go back to Godhead, back home for an eternal life of bliss and knowledge in the personal abode of the Lord. However, since even the demigods, and what to speak of insignificant human beings, are subject sooner or later to annihilation, what ultimate benefit can be derived from serving them? Nothing, because they themselves are going to leave their bodies. Even the demigods, they're going to leave their posts. So ultimately, there is no benefit in serving them. But since our thoughts, our intelligence is only goes this far, that let me get something for this lifetime only. Who cares what happens next? Then we make the mistake. Uddhav describes his personal situation as Nirvinna Dhi and Vrijina Vitapta. In other words, Shri Uddhav states that he is exhausted and discouraged by the contradictions and anguish of material life. He has been forced, therefore, to become humble and surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna, the personal friend of every living entity. In the material world, a great man does not have time for insignificant men. But although the Lord is the greatest person, he sits in the heart of every living entity. Thus, he is the most merciful. Lord Krishna is the ultimate shelter of even Nara, or the Lord's Purusha expansion who creates the material world. The living entity is called Nara, and the source of his material situation is Nara, or Mahavishnu, or Narayan. The word Narayan indicates that even Mahavishnu finds his shelter in Krishna, who is certainly supreme. Although our consciousness is presently contaminated by sinful propensities, if we follow the example of Shri Uddhav and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, everything can be rectified. Taking shelter of Krishna means taking shelter of devotional service to Krishna and obeying him. Lord Krishna demands this in the Bhagavad Gita, and if we comply with the order of the Lord, our life can become fully auspicious and successful. Sooner than we expect, we may, by Krishna's mercy, enter the kingdom of God for an eternal life of bliss and knowledge. So, different characteristics of Krishna are described in the verse, and basically, Uddhavji is taking shelter of him, and he is asking us, or he is inspiring us, motivating us to take shelter of Krishna. Shri Bhagwan Uvacha, Prayana Manuja Loke, Lok Tattva Vichakshana, Samudharanti hi Atmanam, Atmanev Ashubhashayat. The Supreme Lord replied, generally those human beings who can expertly analyze the actual situation of the material world are able to raise themselves beyond the inauspicious life of gross material gratification, who can expertly analyze the actual situation of the material world. That's what we have to do. Shri Uddhav expressed to the Lord in the previous verses his fallen condition and his entanglement in the material concept of life. Now Lord Krishna reassures Uddhav that even persons far less qualified than Uddhav, are able to extricate themselves from the inauspicious life of material sense gratification. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, even if one has not received the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master, one can understand by direct and indirect analysis that the material world is not a place of enjoyment. Direct analysis means one's personal experience, and indirect analysis means hearing and reading of the experience of others. And actual intelligence is when we just hear about experiences and we learn from that this material world is not, as Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati used to say, that this is not a fit place for a gentleman. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Lord Krishna considered Uddhav to be more intelligent than even the demigods in heaven. Uddhav, however, was feeling discouraged, thinking himself unqualified to render devotional service to the Lord. But Uddhav was actually perfectly situated because he had achieved Lord Krishna as his personal spiritual master. Similarly, the members of the Krishna consciousness movement are guided by the instructions of the society's founder Acharya, Om Vishnupad, Paramhans Parivrajkacharya Ashtotarashad, Shri Shri Mandesi, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, a sincere member of the Krishna consciousness movement should never feel discouraged, but should rather count his blessings and do the needful to go back home, back to Godhead. Within the material world, certain activities are auspicious and produce happiness, whereas other activities, being sinful, are inauspicious and cause unlimited suffering. Even one who has not yet received the complete mercy of the bona fide Krishna conscious spiritual master should conclude by sharp intelligence that there is no happiness in ordinary material life, and that real self-interest lies beyond the material platform. Even if we don't know where exactly is our self-interest, but one thing is for sure, this material life is not for us. It's just suffering and suffering and suffering only, nothing else. Srila Madhvacharya points out that even if one is expert not only in material knowledge but also in spiritual knowledge, one will enter into the darkness of ignorance if one neglects the association of the devotees of the Lord. Therefore, one should not misinterpret this verse in a way that minimizes the significance of the pure devotee spiritual master. One who is a vichakshana or expert will eventually come to understand the difference between matter and spirit. Such a person will certainly recognize and appreciate a genuine spiritual master. One who is advanced in knowledge and undoubtedly becomes humble. One who is advanced in knowledge undoubtedly becomes humble. And thus an expert advanced human will never neglect the lotus feet of the pure devotees of the Lord. So this is a real advancement when we become humble, understanding that what is this material world and the life in the material world and how to get out of it, and appreciate the association of devotees, take advantage of the association, not exploit the devotees, but take advantage how I can make further progress spiritually. That's the advantage that one needs to take. Atmano Gururatmeva Purushasya Visheshata Yat Pratyaksha Anumanabhyam Shreyo Asav Anuvindate. An intelligent person, expert in perceiving the world around him and applying sound logic, can achieve real benefit through his own intelligence. Thus, sometimes one acts as one's own instructing spiritual master. As illustrated in this chapter by the conversation between King Yadu and the Avadhuta, a sensitive, reasonable person can acquire real knowledge and happiness simply by carefully observing the world around him. By observing the happiness and distress of other living entities, one can understand what is beneficial and what is destructive. So we'll read this. How to carefully observe the world around us. There are 24 gurus that are mentioned. Beautiful, beautiful narration. Srila Jiva Goswami states in this connection, Guru Anusharane Pravartaka Iti Artha. The knowledge acquired by one's own perception and intelligence leads one to appreciate the value of the representative of Lord Krishna. The word Shreyas in this verse indicates that one can advance in life through one's own intelligence. And also, Shreyas also means the ultimate benefit, ultimate goal one should be looking for, not the prayers, not the short-term goals. By good association, one should gradually come to understand one's eternal position as servant of Krishna. And then when one becomes very eager to live in the company of other enlightened persons, birds of a feather flock together. The symptom of an enlightened servant of Krishna is that he is eager for the company of other such great souls. Thus, by one's sensitive and rational observation of this material world, one should come to appreciate the value of spiritual life in the association of the devotees. So, and in the shloka it says, sometimes one acts as one's own instructing spiritual master because of the experience. One can observe things around him and learn from them. Many times those things are not mentioned in the scripture. So many times we cannot read all the scriptures also, but we have to learn continuously from around us and basically make spiritual progress. That's all. Purushatvecha mamadhira sankhya yoga visharada avistaram prapashyanti sarva shakti upabrahmitam. In the human form of life, those who are self-controlled and expert in the spiritual science of Sankhya can directly see me along with all of my potencies. We find the following statement in the Vedas. In the human form of life, the soul is fully endowed with intelligence to understand spiritual knowledge. Thus, in human life, the soul may speak, realize knowledge, see the truth, know the future, and also understand the reality both of this world and of the next. Taking advantage of the experience of mortal life, the soul in human form may endeavor for immortality, and the human body is fully equipped to achieve this end. In such an elevated state, the soul is certainly well acquainted with the ordinary activities of animals, such as eating and drinking. The soul in the human life should go further than just the animalistic activities of eating, drinking. The human form of life, Purushatva, is very significant because it affords us the opportunity to perfect our existence. The Sankhya system mentioned here is best illustrated by the instructions of Lord Kapila to his mother Devahuti. Lord Kapil is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And his mother approached him, saying, I am very sick of the disturbance caused by my material senses. For because of this sense disturbance, my Lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance. Lord Kapila delivered to his mother a highly analytical summary of all material and spiritual reality. It is significant that Lord Kapila did not discriminate against his mother because she was a woman, nor did he consider her incapable of understanding the most elaborate spiritual knowledge. Thus, in a Krishna-conscious society of liberated souls, any man, woman, or child may become a great devotee of Lord Krishna without discrimination. It is also significant that in the highly intellectual Sankhya system, enunciated by Lord Kapila, the solid conclusion is surrender to the lotus feet of the pure devotees and love of Godhead. See, its final word is that only. In Sankhya Yoga, this is what Prabhupada says, that other Sankhya Yoga is atheistic Sankhya Yoga, where it is, they don't consider the soul and God in counting the elements. But the real Sankhya Yoga connects everything with God and how to use everything in the service of the Lord. A spiritual master becomes bona fide by his full surrender to his spiritual master. But as explained in this chapter, one may also act as his own guru. This means that an intelligent and perceptive person can understand the nature of this world and his own limitations. Such a person then becomes very much inclined to associate with the pure devotees of the Lord and to receive the mercy of those who are advanced in Krishna consciousness. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sankhya Yoga as described here refers to rigorous intellectual progress of the Jnana Yoga system, together along with the devotion or Bhakti Yoga, which emphasizes the mercy of the lotus feet of the pure devotees. So this is the real Sankhya Yoga. Ekad vichitra chatusapado bahupadas tatha padan bhavya santi pura srishtas tasam me purushi priya. In this world, there are many kinds of created bodies, some with one leg, others with 2, 3, 4 or more legs, and still others with no legs. But of all these, the human form is actually dear to me. Tasam me purushi priya. See, Krishna himself says. It's not like he hates other entities or other beings, because Krishna says, I am the father, seed-giving father of every entity, every body, every species. But still, those who are more advanced, they are dear to Krishna. The ultimate purpose of material creation is to facilitate the return of the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. Since this redemption of the conditioned souls is especially possible in the human form of life, naturally this form is particularly dear to the compassionate personality of Godhead. Although in all his pastimes, whether as Ram or Krishna, Mahaprabhu, he has shown mercy or love to compassion to everybody. As Ram, so many monkeys helped him. Jatayu, Sampati, they were not humans. But here he is saying in a superlative degree, who is more dear. As Krishna, he loved his cows. But still, devotees are devotees, because then he can interact with them. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave mercy to even dogs, or dog who just met his group of devotees, Shiva, especially Shivananda, who were coming to Jagannath Puri to see him. Atra mam margyanti adha yukta hetu bhirishwaram griya maner gunair lingar agrayam anumanata. Although I, the Supreme Lord, can never be captured by ordinary sense perception, those situated in human life may use their intelligence and other faculties of perception to directly search for me through both apparent and indirectly ascertained symptoms. This is where human beings actually should work, but we don't. We are looking for how I can enjoy my senses. With the better intelligence, higher consciousness we have, we are looking how I can get more thrill in life, actually. Because everything that we create like whether it is a new computer, new car, or new mobile phone, or anything, we go for vacations here or there, go for all these rides, go high up, come down, roller coasters, this or that. Basically, it's to create thrill in our boring life. And by creating those thrills, we think we are enjoying. And what is the thrill? Basically, sense gratification. That's all it is. And to get those thrills, we have to work hard, because everything needs money. We need to have money. So we have to work hard. So we work hard for so many months, save up some money, and then maybe take a vacation for 1 week, 2 weeks, just to get some thrill somewhere, spend that money, whatever we have earned for over the months, and come back thinking, oh, I enjoy it. We work so hard to make money. And the real enjoyment is not even in that, because that was just for 1 week or 2 weeks. That's it. It's gone. And then we talk about it and, oh, how we did that and how we enjoyed that boat ride or that whatever roller coaster ride or this or that, and then we enjoy. But you're back in the work again. Where is enjoyment? Some thrill that gives us enjoyment? No. Spirituality, it doesn't cost anything. And it can give, and it does give, the best possible enjoyment. But we are not ready to experience that. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the word yukta in this verse indicates those engaged in the regulated practice of bhakti yoga. The devotees of the Lord do not abandon their intelligence and become mindless fanatics as some fools think. As indicated by the words Anumanta and Guneralinga, a devotee engaged in bhakti yoga intensely searches out the personality of Godhead through all of the rational faculties of the human brain. The word mrigyanti or searching does not, however, indicate an unregulated or unauthorized process. If we are searching for the telephone number of a particular process, we look in the authorized telephone directory. Similarly, if we are searching for a particular product, we go to a specialized store where we are likely to find what we are looking for. Srila Jiva Goswami points out that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not a product of the imagination, and thus we cannot whimsically imagine what the Lord might be. Therefore, to gain information about Lord Krishna, one must conduct a regulated search in the authorized Vedic scriptures. The word agrahayam in this verse indicates that no one can achieve or understand Lord Krishna by ordinary speculation or through the activities of the material senses. So the senses have to be purified by the performance of bhakti. And slowly we can get realizations of the Lord. What? Somebody got unmuted. One may also directly perceive the Lord through chanting and hearing his holy names and glories. Shravanam Kirtanam means that one should always chant and hear of the glories of the Lord. One who perfectly hears and chants will undoubtedly see the Lord face to face. Lord Krishna is all-pervading, and one should search for him everywhere. By the transcendental senses purified by Bhakti Yoga, one may directly perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As indicated by the word Adha in this verse, this perception is direct and not imaginary. This point has been elaborately explained by Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavatam 2.2.35. The personality of God, Lord Shri Krishna, is in every living being along with the individual soul. And this fact is perceived and hypothesized in our acts of seeing and taking help from the intelligence. So it depends upon our intelligence, upon our consciousness, if we see him, if we perceive him. Atrapi udaharantamimam itihasam puratanam avadhutasya samvadam yador amita tejasaham. In this regard, sages cite a historical narration concerning the conversation between the greatly powerful King Yadu and an Avadhuta. Lord Krishna will narrate this story to show Uddhava how rational intelligence can be utilized in Bhakti Yoga to acquire Vedic knowledge, and how ultimately an intelligent person will come to the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead. Avadhutam dvayam kachich charantam akato bhayam kavim niriksha tarunam yadu paprich dharmavit. Maharaj Yadu once observed a certain Brahman Avadhuta who appeared to be quite young and learned, wandering about fearlessly. Being himself most learned in spiritual science, the king took the opportunity and inquired from him as follows. Shri Yadur Uvacha Kuto Buddhiriyam Brahman Akartu Suvisharada Yama Sadhya Bhavan Lokam Vidvans Charati Balavat. So even Krishna is citing scriptures. This passage and these question answers was listed in one of the Puranas, and he is citing scriptures. It means the scriptures are the ultimate. Shri Yadu said, "O Brahman, I see that you are not engaged in any practical religious activity, and yet you have acquired a most expert understanding of all things and all people within this world. Kindly tell me, sir, how did you acquire this extraordinary intelligence, and why are you traveling freely throughout the world, behaving as if you were a child? Prayo dharmartha kameshu vivitsayam jamanava hetuneva samihanta ayusho yashasa shriya." Generally, human beings work hard to cultivate religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and also knowledge of the soul. And the usual motive is to increase the duration of their lives, acquire fame, and enjoy material opulence. An intelligent person should understand that if there is an eternal soul different from the body, then real happiness must lie in our eternal situation beyond the bondage of material nature. However, ordinary persons, even when discussing spiritual subject matters, generally desire to become famous or to increase their wealth and duration of life by such spiritual practices. Most common people think, for example, that the yoga system is meant for improving one's health, and that one may pray to God for money, and that one's spiritual knowledge is meant for increasing one's prestige in society. And this is, in fact, most of people, most of the devotees also think this way. The goal is not to have anything material, any material desires, or ask for any material prosperity. Goal is to ask of Krishna, you give me service. Or Radharani, please engage me in your service, not in Maya's service. But since we are at the platform of mixed devotional service, so while we are chanting, we are asking, okay, let me have good job and more money and good health and this and that. We think we can serve better with all these things. No, this Avadhut will read his story. We don't need all this to serve Krishna, to have our spiritual realizations. Maharaj Yadu wants to clarify that the young Brahman Avadhut is not like ordinary persons, and that he is actually on a spiritual platform, as will be explained in the following verses. Tvam tu kalpa kavir daksha subhago amrit bhashana na karta nehase kinchij jadon mat pishachavat. You, however, although capable, learned, expert, handsome, and most eloquent, are not engaged in doing anything, nor do you desire anything. Rather, you appear stupefied and maddened as if you were a ghostly creature. Ignorant persons often think that renounced spiritual life is meant for those who are impotent or homely or incompetent in practical worldly affairs. Because they cannot go out and make money, so people take this renounce order of life in spiritual. Sometimes foolish people say that religious life is a crutch for those who are not expert enough to achieve a high status in society. And in fact, this similar statement was made by one of the governors in America of one of the states. Therefore, King Yadu has described the qualities of the mendicant Brahman in order to show that the Brahman has taken to renounce spiritual life in spite of great potential for worldly success. The Avadhuta Brahman is described as being expert, learned, good-looking, eloquent, and in every sense qualified to be a great material success. Still, the Avadhuta has renounced material life and taken to Krishna consciousness. Going back home, back to Godhead for an eternal life of bliss and knowledge is a real work of a human being. But this part is missing from the lives of so many people. The followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu simultaneously cultivate their own Krishna consciousness and strenuously endeavor in missionary work to help others become Krishna conscious. Often foolish persons deride the devotees by saying, "Why don't you get a job?" They think that one who is sincerely endeavoring for spiritual enlightenment, who is also enlightening others, is not doing anything practical. Foolish materialists will pay millions of dollars to extend their lives by a few weeks or months in a hospital, but they do not appreciate someone endeavoring for eternal life. There is no actual logic in material life. The act of trying to enjoy without Krishna is in itself the culmination of irrationality, and thus we cannot expect to find anything ultimately rational or logical in a materialistic life devoid of Krishna consciousness. But those who are totally involved in materialistic life, they don't see anything rational or logical in Krishna consciousness life. They think this is boring and this doesn't make sense. Just like I read a joke some time back that a person, he died and he went to Yamlok. So Yamrajji and Chitragupt was looking at his data, and they got confused. Yamrajji said, interviewing him, that while you were living, did you drink liquor in your life? He said, no, I never drank liquor. Did you eat meat? No, sir, I did not eat meat at all. I'm vegetarian, complete vegetarian. I was serving the animals. Did you gamble? No, I was always staying away from gambling. How about illicit relationship? No relationship. Smoking? No smoking at all. Then Yamaraji said, then you didn't practically live. So you didn't live, so how can you die? Go back. Of course, it's a joke. Yamaraji will never say that. He's a Mahajan. And also this kind of person will never see Yamdut, or he'll never go to Yamaloka. But this is the mentality of people in general. If you don't do all these sinful activities, that means you're not living. You're wasting your time. On the other hand, after reading Prabhupada's books, taking up spiritual practices, we understand everybody else is wasting their life, wasting their time, completely wasting their time, because they're not making progress in spiritual life. Many devotees of Krishna come from wealthy, learned, and influential families, and they take to Krishna consciousness in order to perfect their lives, and certainly not due to lack of opportunity for material advancement. Although sometimes persons in material distress approach the Supreme Lord for help in material life, a real devotee of Lord Krishna voluntarily gives up all types of material enjoyment, knowing that nothing but love of Krishna and service to his lotus feet are the actual perfection of life. But sometimes what happens, so many times, there are devotees who come to Krishna consciousness, but many times they don't have somehow Krishna's arrangement, they haven't had a good education, college education or other, and come from a good family. They come from very poor family. So when lots of devotees like that are there, then the general impression that goes in the public is Krishna consciousness is for such people who cannot do anything in their material life. But that is not true. That is not at all true. If some devotees are in that kind of situation, it's their karma and it's between them and Krishna. But the fact that they are in Krishna consciousness, trying to serve Krishna, that is their biggest asset. Because this asset will remain with them forever. So we should not be looking down upon anybody, because again, we are not the judges. We should not be the judges of anybody's material condition, whether health-wise, whether financially, whether educational, or whether family background, or anything else. We are not here to judge. We are not here to judge, but at the same time, we have to see whose association we have to take. That's a different story. But we are not here to judge anybody. We are just supposed to serve, make progress ourselves, and help others to make progress. That should be our motive. But when we are in the material consciousness, then we start judging devotees. We start judging everybody, and especially the devotees, and then we start committing offenses. So got to be careful on that aspect. Janeshu daya maneshu kamalo bhatavagnina natapyase agnina mukto gangam bhastha iva dvipaha. Although all people within the material world are burning in the great forest fire of lust and greed, you remain free and are not burned by that fire. You're just like an elephant who takes shelter from a forest fire by standing within the water of the Ganges River. The natural result of transcendental bliss is described in this verse. The young Brahman was physically very attractive, and his senses were full of potency for material enjoyment. Yet he was not at all affected by material lust. This position is called mukti, or liberation. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that within the Ganges flow great currents of water capable of extinguishing a blazing fire. If an elephant maddened by sex desire stands within the Ganges, its powerful cooling currents extinguish his lust, and the elephant becomes pacified. Similarly, ordinary human beings trapped in the cycle of birth and death are constantly harassed by the enemies of lust and greed, which never allow the mind to be completely peaceful. But if, following the example of the elephant, one situates oneself within the cooling waves of transcendental bliss, then all material desire will soon be extinguished and one will become shant, or peaceful. So everybody is being harassed by these waves of the desires of lust and greed. These are the enemies. Even Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? Kam, Krodha, Lobha. These are the three greatest enemies. Of course, it starts from Kam only. Lust. Lust means to enjoy separately from Krishna. So one has to remain in the cooling waves of transcendental bliss of devotional service. Then all material desires, calm, will soon be extinguished. As described in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Bhakta Nishikama Teva Shanta. Thus everyone should take to the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and cleanse himself in the cooling waters of Krishna consciousness, our real eternal consciousness. Very, very important. Tvam hi nah prichatam brahman atmanyananda karanam bruhi sparsha vihinasya bhavata kevalatmanah. O Brahman, we see that you are devoid of any contact with material enjoyment, and that you are traveling alone without any companions or family members. Therefore, because we are sincerely inquiring from you, please tell us the cause of the great ecstasy that you are feeling within yourself. The word Kevalatmana is significant here. Unless one has practical realization of the Supreme Soul and the individual soul who reside together within the heart of every living being, it is very difficult to artificially adopt the sannyas order of life and travel without the association of wife, children, or other family members. The nature of every living being is to make friends with others and to offer his love to a suitable person. One who has realized the Supreme Person is satisfied to always carry the personality of Godhead within his heart as his constant companion. Unless one has realized that Krishna is one's only true friend and that Krishna is within one's heart, one will remain attached to temporary relationships of the material world. So one has to make Krishna as his family and friend and everything, completely dependent upon Krishna. Otherwise, we will be dependent on others, and of course, Prabhupada's movement is to make everybody a devotee. If our family members are devotees, if we are dependent on them, we have friendship, then it's okay. But if it is not, then actually, as a human being, being a social person, we do need some kind of emotional support also. If we are not getting that support from Krishna or Krishna consciousness, we need that. This is we are social. We are a social person. So many times that emotional support comes from family members or friends. But that is when devotees should come into the picture to give us emotional support, and we should give emotional support to other devotees. The real Krishna conscious emotional support. So yes, this is a topic for psychologists. They can explain better. But this is my understanding, and that is when devotees, they feel lonely if they don't get full support in the association of devotees also. So, but the thing is, yes, one should have Krishna as one's only true friend, and then one will remain happy in Krishna consciousness also. And Krishna does reciprocate. It's not that he doesn't reciprocate. He's just a murti or he's just a picture. No, he does reciprocate, but he reciprocates in his own way. And many times we're not able to realize that reciprocation. So it takes time to make progress, to come to that level of having full faith, full dependency upon Krishna only. It takes time. But for that is where devotees should come into the picture to help each other, to grow together. That is the whole purpose of this society, this movement. So I guess we can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please take some
Hare
time.
Krishna.
All
Please
goodness to
accept
Shiva.
mine.
In the 20th verse, we saw that a person who is able to observe the surroundings, he can act as his intelligence can act as his own spiritual master.
Yeah.
Uh, does this replace the spiritual master's position? Like if somebody is
No,
very
no,
intelligent,
no, no. It just becomes after all, we all have to learn based on our realizations.
okay,
We can ask questions from a spiritual, whether Shiksha or Diksha Guru. We can ask questions, but we have to have our own realizations. That's how we make progress. Otherwise, it all remains theoretical.
right, okay. So the intelligence acting as spiritual master means just having realizations.
Yeah, because that's how we learn.
Okay.
That's how we learn. And we'll see how he takes knowledge from 24 gurus.
Right. Yeah. Very interesting.
It's a very, very interesting topic, and how he learns from everybody.
Yeah.
Basically, we should be aware of everything what is going on around us and learn. How can we learn?
Yes, Prabhu. This is going to be very
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
Section. It's called Uddhav Gita, Prabhu. Is
Yeah,
this
this
called?
chapter is Uddhav Gita.
Okay.
Lord Krishna instructs Uddhav.
Okay. Okay. So only this chapter is called Uddhav Gita. Or
No, I think next chapter also is part of that.
but I've seen once in ISKCON only, we have published one big book called Uddhav Gita. So I thought
Yeah,
the
but
content
that's
is like the 11th canto. So many chapters are part of this Uddhav Gita. Yes. So this Avanti Brahmanas learning and all that doesn't come under Uddhav Gita.
no. Avanti Brahman is separate. That is different. That's
Oh,
Aila Gita. Aila Gita.
Aila Gita. Okay.
Yeah, that's that. But
Amazing.
Uddhav Gita is where actually it's Lord Dattatreya who,
Okay.
who will have interaction with 24 gurus. He will learn from 24
Right. I think that is the most commented part of the Bhagavatam also. So many people have written commentaries and books separately about that.
gurus. Yep. And the next chapter is a whole story of Pingala. Pingala is a prostitute.
Amazing. On this particular chapter, I think devotees have made songs, so many
Yeah.
presentations. This is right.
Acharyas have written books on this.
This is very churning, heart churning, particularly.
Yeah.
I think it is the story of each one of us, right? It will be very interesting.
Yeah, and we can learn more, not just these 24 gurus. We can learn every day
Yeah,
something.
today I think in Kali Yuga we have so many 24,000 gurus. Whoever we are
Yeah, we
meeting
can
is
learn every day by just observing, but just have an open mind to observe things.
correct, bro. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri
Thank you.
Prabhupada.